Offertory, and I share leadership of today's service with Reverend Sandra. All are invited to join in our mask making activities located over there at the 2 tables in our sanctuary. And it's the tables you'll find filled with all the supplies you need to make your own mask. One thing that I would like to suggest is that you put tape on the very ends where the punch holes go, because you know what happens, it just rips. So the tape will reinforce those for you. So you'll find butterflies, unicorns, superheroes, cat masks, and so much more. Whoever you are, wherever you live, whomever you love, whatever you do for a living, we welcome you to the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg. We have an in-person coffee hour after the service, and then in the common room downstairs, we hope that you'll join us for even just a few minutes. There will also be a question and answer with Chris Dutton, our board president, and members of the ministerial search team after the service. You'll hear more about that later in the service. For those joining online this morning, we invite you to participate in a Zoom coffee hour. The link was provided in the email with today's service links. Online or in person, we are glad that you are here.
Good morning, everybody. I decided to act the part. Today's my 70th birthday. No matter who or what you are welcome here. Let's be clear. Here, we welcome goblins and ghouls, saints and sinners, angels and devils, zombies and werewolves, vampires and witches, and maybe even old grannies. We welcome princesses and princes, paupers and farmhands, aliens and astronauts, robots and cyborgs, firefighters and police officers, nurses, doctors, cowboys, cowgirls, cowfolk of all varieties. We welcome Superman, Wonder Woman, Black Panther, Batman, Spider-Man, Black Widow, and Thor. Indeed, we welcome both superheroes and superstars. In short, we welcome people, monsters, and all other manner of creatures. Here we welcome you and all of you and all of who and what you are. Welcome, and let us begin.
Swear to God, if you guys don't sing, I'm gonna cry.
That's right.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. From my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
He did the mash.
he did the monster mash.
The monster mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
The mash.
It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the monster mash from my laboratory in the castle east to the master bedroom where the grandfathers feast. The ghouls all came from their humble abodes to get a jolt from my electrodes. They did the mash. They did the monster mash.
The monster mash.
It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. The scene was rockin', they were digging the sound.
They did the mash.
Igor on chains, backed by his bagging hounds.
The monster
The
mash.
coffin bangers were about to arrive. There was a group, the Crypt Keeper 5.
Did the mash. The monster mash.
It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash.
They played the mash.
They played the monster mash. Caught Draken, his voice did ring. He seemed just troubled by just one thing. He opened the lid and shook his fist and said,
Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist?
It's now the mash. It's now the monster mash. And it's a graveyard smash.
It's now the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
It's now the mash.
It's now the monster mash. Now everything's cool. Drax a part of the band.
did
And
the
the
mash.
monster mash is the hit of the land. And for
mash.
you, the living, this mash is meant to. When you
The
get
mash.
to my door, tell them Boris sent you. Then you can monster mash.
Monster mash.
And do the graveyard smash.
Do the mash.
You'll catch on in a flash.
Then you can mash.
Then you can monster mash.
Ooh,
Monster mash, wahoo! 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 Monster mash,
wahoo.
Monster mash, wahoo! Monster mash.
In church every day. So, what will you wear for Halloween? The trees are changing faces, and the rough chins of chestnut burrs grimace and break to show their sleek brown centers. The hills have lost their mask of green and grain, settled into a firmer geometry of uncolored line and curve. Which face will you say is true? The luminous trees or the branches underneath? The green husks of walnuts, the shell within, or the nut curled intimately inside, sheltered like a brain within its casing. Be careful with what you know, with what you think you see. Moment by moment, faces shift. Masks lift and fall again, repainted to a different scene. It means, the cynic says, there is no truth, no constant to give order to the great equation. Meanwhile, the trees, leaf by leaf, are telling stories inevitably true. Green, gold, vermilion, brown, the lace of veins remaining as each cell returns to soil. What will you be? What will you wear for Halloween?
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For Today's story is Behind the Mask by Yang-suk Choi. Halloween is coming. What are you going to be? The children ask one another. Kimmin says he will be his grandfather. Going as an old man is not very scary, they teased. What the children don't know is that Kimmin's grandfather was a Korean mask dancer, and Kimmin doesn't know that the mask holds a secret for him. So let's begin our story. Kimmin looked out the window into the wide night sky. In 2 days, it would be Halloween, and the glowing pumpkin on his windowsill would light the way for all the wandering spirits. But he still hadn't decided what he wanted to be for this Halloween. His mother had said he might find some interesting things for a costume among his grandfather's belongings, but Kimmin wasn't so sure about that. Kimmin's mother brought 2 boxes up from the basement. I'll leave these in your room so you can look through them in the morning, she said. And do be careful, she added. Some of grandfather's things are valuable. They're family treasures. Kimmin knew that his grandfather had been a famous dancer in Korea. Still, he wished his mother hadn't left those boxes in his room. Kimmin got into bed and pulled the blanket over his head so he wouldn't have to look at grandfather's boxes. He wondered why they made him feel so uncomfortable. And then he remembered something he thought he had buried. It was a memory of the last time he had seen his grandfather in Korea. Grandfather was old and didn't always recognize Kimmin. Sometimes he called him by his uncle's name, but Kimmin didn't mind. He liked to sit and talk with him. Kimmin speaking English, grandfather answering in Korean, but mostly grandfather just smiled at him. And that made Kimmin feel good, until one night when he couldn't sleep. A light shone from grandfather's room. Kimmin got up and peeked through a hole in the rice paper door. Grandfather sat on the floor with his back to Kimmin. He was bent over a box. Kimmin was happy to see that his grandfather was awake too, and opened the door. Grandfather turned around, but he looked gruesome. Kimmin was terrified and never told anyone about that night. After that, he didn't want to be alone with his grandfather, and now grandfather was dead. In the bright light of the morning, grandfather's boxes didn't seem so menacing. I will only look at the pictures, Kimmin told himself as he opened a smaller box labeled Grandfather's Photos. The top layer was mostly pictures of Kimmin and his grandfather. Kimmin as a baby in his grandfather's arms, Kimmin as a toddler in the park with grandfather, and Kimmin with aunts and uncles and cousins he hardly knew. But then there were pictures Kimmin had never seen of dancers wearing face masks performing before a crowd. Were these pictures of his grandfather? Kimmin's curiosity grew. He looked at the other box, which was labeled tall. What is tall, he wondered. Cautiously, he lifted the lid. There, neatly folded, were traditional clothes like those worn by the dancers in grandfather's photos. Beneath the costumes were masks. Some smiling, some frowning, some fierce. But none seemed very frightening to Kimmin now. They were fun to look at, and he laughed at his nervousness. Then he saw the face that had frightened him the scary night in Korea. He ran to his mother. What does tall mean, he asked. Oh, did you see your grandfather's tall? Tall means mask in Korean, she said. Now it all made sense to Kimmin. Grandfather had been wearing a mask that night. At school the next day, everyone was talking about Halloween. Jimmy is going to be an alligator, and I'll be a witch, said Emma. What are you going to be? I'll be my grandpa, Kimmin said. You mean you're just going to dress up like an old man, someone asked. Yes, said Kimmin. That won't be much fun. You'll be too slow to follow us for trick-or-treating. The kids laughed at him, but Kimmin didn't mind. Going as an old man is not very scary, they teased, but Kimmin knew better. Jimmy is going to be an alligator, Emma a witch, Kimmin his grandpa. So what are you going to be for Halloween? What are you going to be?
Well, I haven't decided yet. What are all of you going to be? Anybody want to share? Or what are you, or what are you going to be? Some of you look like you're already ready. Anybody want to volunteer to share what you are?
I am the ghost of UCH song leaders past.
Who else? Oh. A skeleton. I see that. Ooh. Anyone else? Oh, got an interesting character here.
Ich bin ein deutsches Mensch.
All right. I think you said you're a Dutch man. No? Oh, German. I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Dutch. I know that. My grandma was Pennsylvania Dutch, which is German, right? So, anyone else here in this cast of characters want to share any of our... Ooh. I read this word kidults this week. Is that how you say it? So I think this is participation by kids or kidults.
I'm going to be at work on Halloween at a retail store, and I'm going to dress up as a sloth.
All right. Anybody else over here? Many mask makers want to share what you're going to be for Halloween? All right. A few more? Oh.
Just to participate. I don't think I'm going to be this for Halloween, but I just want to say, Jack said, "What are you? Are you a wolf?" I was like, "Okay, I guess." I thought it was a cat. I don't know.
Aw. Awesome. Whatever you feel like in the moment.
I work at a school, and tomorrow is a spirit day. Dress up as a famous artist, and I think I'm going to dress up as Mary Oliver.
Fun. All right.
Whoever said they looked in the box, that's what I did. And this, Libby Tisdale gave to me years ago, so I'm like, yay!
Lovely. All right. Anyone else? Oh, one more.
I'm a witch. I'm always a witch.
I'm going to use that line.
So I'm a scientist, but and maybe a mad scientist, but I'm actually not angry. So I'm going to go with a vibrant or gay scientist. So I'm coming as myself.
My family does different kind of stretches. I'm dressed as, this is what a feminist looks like. And later today, I will share the picture of our son and his wife and two other couples dressed up as a swarm of, what are those bugs? Black and white and red spots all over.
Oh, no, the lanternfly? Oh. All right, last word.
So Jack, my husband, and I are going as Lock, Shock, and Barrel from The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I have turned our wagon into a bathtub because that's how they travel in Halloween Town. I have too much time on my hands.
All right, well, we are going to see how our story turns out at this point.
So Kimmin hurried after school. He hurried home after school. Today was the day for trick-or-treating. Kimmin knew that Halloween was also a time to honor the dead. Kimmin lifted the mask his father had worn that scary night out of the box. He looked into its face, and he felt as if grandfather was speaking to him. He looked in the mirror and saw his grandpa as a mask dancer. He moved around the room dancing as his grandpa did in the photos. Then he put on grandfather's dance clothes. They were too big, but that didn't matter. His costume was complete. Kimmin called goodbye to his mother. "Come home after dark," she answered, and he slipped out of the house before she could see that he was wearing the family treasure. When he got to the street, he heard whispers and footsteps behind him. "What are you?" a voice asked. "I'm a mask dancer," answered Kimmin. Children in disguises surrounded him. "Show us your dance," said an alligator. Kimmin started dancing. The children watched in awe. "Do you want to trick or treat with us?" the tuna asked. Those are words you don't say very often. The masked dancer nodded. So they went from house to house singing their song. "Trick or treat, smell my feet. Join with me, give me something good to eat." There you go. The masked dancer danced. The children circled around him, and they filled their pockets with treats. It had suddenly turned from dusk to dark. It was time to go home. Kimmin didn't know how it happened, but he tripped on the hem of his coat and fell face first. His mask hit the ground with a thud. Quickly, he took off the mask. The nose was scratched, but he was okay. The mask. "Yes, but now I have to go," cried Kimmin. He knew that his mother would be very angry with him. And what would his grandfather had thought? Kimmin's mother was waiting for him. "Is that what you wore? Grandfather's dance clothes and his mask?" She looked surprised, then pleased, until she saw the scratches on grandfather's mask. Kimmin's heart was beating fast. His face was as pale as the mask. As he started to tell his mother what had happened, the doorbell rang. Kimmin opened the door, and there stood all the children he had gone trick-or-treating with. "Something fell out of your mask when you took it off," they said. The dragon handed Kimmin a piece of folded paper. Kimmin opened it. "What does it say?" the children asked. "I don't know because it's written in Korean," said Kimmin, handing the paper back to his mother. She looked at it and then translated aloud. "Kimmin, behind the mask my spirit remains. I want you to have it. Time will pass and the mask will get old, but I will always be with you. From grandfather." "It's a letter from your grandpa," the children exclaimed. A smile lit up Kimmin's face. "Why don't you show your friends your grandfather's other doll and his photographs?" his mother said. Kimmin took the children to his room. They looked at the masks and the pictures, and soon everyone was dancing. Later that night, Kimmin and his mother hung grandfather's masks on the wall above his bed. "I am happy that you wanted to be your grandfather today," said his mother. "And don't worry about the mask. Grandpa would be very happy that you found it." In Kimmin's heart, he knew that that was true.
And I have another question for you. Why does Kimmin wear his grandfather's mask, and what does it mean to him? Why is it so important? And if anyone has some thoughts, I'd love to come around and hear why you think it matters so much to him. Anyone?
I think it shows that he has a connection and wants to make even more of a connection to somebody he loved.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sandra,
All right.
behind you.
Whoops. I'll come over there, Jack.
I think it means he wants to carry on the family legacy started by his grandfather.
Thank you. You have a thought about why he wore that? Okay.
I think he likes the mask.
Yeah, he liked the mask. Okay. Anyone else? I think these were great answers. Okay, one more here.
In addition to honoring his ancestors, I think he also found it a way to face his fears.
Thank you. This month, just to remind you, the Soul Matters theme is heritage. And this story really fits well with that theme and exploring what our ancestors mean to us and the connection we have to them. Right? So, I want to invite you now into our time of joys and sorrows, our time of prayer and meditation, a time to connect more deeply to the stirrings of our own lives, to connect to our experiences and the people who matter to us, who matter deeply. So I invite you at this time, as you are moved, to come forward. You can place a stone in our common bowl of water. You may also write slips at the back of the sanctuary if you'd like to have your joy or sorrow shared. And those who are joining us on Zoom this morning may write in the chat box if they would like to share. So please come as you are moved. We have two joys and sorrows to be shared. The first is from Jessica Leiberg, described as a shameless plug, but I think it's really a joy, which is for the auction on November 4th. And I think we're all looking forward to that, right? a deep joy. Wonderful community time for this congregation. And this one from Jim Kavanaugh. He says, my wife Nan is with us online, hoping to overcome the cough that made her postpone her heart catheterization once to tomorrow. We appreciate your good wishes. And indeed, we do hold Nan, hold you in love. I invite you to continue in a spirit of prayer, a spirit of meditation, in whatever way you would like to engage in that. We gather here at the turning of the season, at the harvest time of year. We gather to remember, to delight, to grieve, to give voice to our stories. We gather welcoming all of who and what we are, welcoming our celebrations and our losses. We come seeking greater peace and understanding for our hurting world, and greater joy and kindness for our beautiful world. Let us hold our prayers and meditations, our intentions, in a moment of shared silence. Amen. Blessed be.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart, give stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí, y al corazón cantaré tu compasión. Sopla volar, subir la mar, hasta morir la justicia de la vida. Arréglame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a
What will you wear for Halloween this year? Well, I did a Google search this week of this year's most popular costumes. They include princess, Spider-Man, witch, fairy, Wednesday Addams, dinosaur, clown, pirate, bunny, ninja, Taylor Swift. Everybody wants to be Taylor Swift this year, I don't know. Vampire, and of course, Barbie, yep. Barbie. Can't miss Barbie. So be on the lookout for these and many other characters here, some here this morning, and be on the lookout for them in your neighborhood this week, and maybe if you're going to a trunk or treat event, you'll find many of them there. Wearing costumes at Halloween is part of a tradition that's been passed down to us. Halloween began as the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. That's Samhain, if that's a new word for you. Ancient people said that at this time of year, the veil between this world and the world of the spirit is thin. They lit bonfires and they wore costumes, and they wore disguises to ward off ghosts. They wanted to ward off the spirits that would enter our world because that veil between worlds was so thin. Now today, if any of us wear costumes to ward off ghosts, but this practice of wearing costumes continues. Many adults, as well as children, love to dress up. Something about donning these disguises captivates our imagination. It captivates, I think, some human longing in us. Wearing disguises, wearing masks, it holds an appeal. It's fun, of course. That's part of it, right? It's fun. It also has some deep and abiding significance, too. Religions and cultures have long understood this. They have tapped into the transformative power of masks and costumes. Masks are used in rituals and ceremonies of initiation and grieving. Masks are symbolic, transcendent, and utilitarian. They can be used for beauty or protection or for performances. We've all seen these uses, haven't we? The oldest found mask, this is so interesting, I think. The oldest found mask dates to 7,000 before Christian era. Right? Wow. And they think that the art of making masks may be even older than that. The oldest masks we have were created from leather and wood, and they were used for ritual purposes. And they've also been found all over the world. As in our story this morning, masks can also help us connect more deeply to our family traditions, and to our religious ancestors. They can help us connect more deeply also to ourselves, to parts of who we are, and maybe parts we want to be. As I was thinking about this ceremonial use in religion and culture, I couldn't help but think about how in our contemporary world and in spiritual circles that we often talk about this wearing of masks in a particular way. We talk about it in relation to authenticity so often. And we talk about how wearing a mask is a metaphor for hiding parts of who we are. We wear masks, we say, to protect ourselves, and removing them is often seen as a way that we can reveal our true selves and be more vulnerable. And yet, here is a long history of mask wearing that actually does the opposite. It helps us be more truly who we are. And both can be true and are true. The thing is that each of us has many different faces and many different parts of our personalities. We have different aspects of our lives, different roles, and different responsibilities. And sometimes we need to try on different ways of being to see which is true for us and just to discover more about ourselves, who we are and who we aren't. And we may wear those different faces in different situations. We aren't always exactly the same at work and at church, with family and elsewhere. You know, I think about these different roles, and I'm a friend, I'm a partner, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I'm a cat lover, an environmentalist, an intellect, part nerd, part hippie, a yoga practitioner, an introvert, a poet, and I'm a minister, and a bunch of other things too. And I'm sure you could make your own list for yourselves. As a minister, I sometimes wear a stole, as I'm wearing this morning. Sometimes I wear a robe. Reverend Kathy wears a robe most Sundays. And sometimes I wear a clergy collar. Sometimes none of those. But when I wear one of those liturgical items, I don't do that to conceal the other parts of who I am, but to reveal myself as a minister, to make that known to others, to make that more in the forefront. When I wear a clergy collar, which I don't do a lot, it's because I'm at a social justice event and I want to make it apparent to others that I am a minister and that a religious leader is there supporting and advocating and defending a certain justice cause. I'm there and want to make that statement. But I don't wear those items when I'm not in a ministry role. I mean, I don't show up to dinner with friends or family wearing a clergy collar or a stole or a robe. You know, that would just be weird. They know I'm a minister, but that's not my relationship with them. So wearing a costume or a mask can be as revealing as taking one off. And with all this talk about masks, it's hard not to think about the masks that we wear to protect ourselves and each other from the coronavirus and other illnesses. That's been with us for a long time now. It seems like a long time. One of the surprising things that I discovered during the time when I was masking in public all the time was that in some situations I found the mask freeing. I don't know if anybody else had that experience. I mean, I got tired of wearing it, like most people, but I discovered that when I wore the mask, that I could put down another mask that I wear, a certain way that I've been socialized to present myself. As a woman, I've been told so many times in my life, smile. Why don't you smile? Won't you just smile? Complete strangers have said this to me. Wearing a mask in public helped to remove some of those expectations that I've come to internalize about how to be, how to hold my face and my expression. Have any of you had that experience, by the way? Any identify with that? And it's not just women, by the way, right? So masks, if used well, can help us learn to know ourselves better. They can help us to claim our power and our authentic selves. They can help us to learn more about who we are. By dressing up as a superhero, I can try on that hero's qualities. I can feel bold and capable of saving the world, or at least helping to. I'm a particular fan of Spider-Man. Any Spidey fans? Okay, a couple of you out there. Something about that spider sense, that keen ability to detect danger really appeals to me. And I don't know, being able to like cling to walls and, you know, shoot webs, like that's really cool, I think. I mean, I just always loved Spider-Man. But sometimes I want to be a lion or a wolf or a cat or dog or a butterfly. I mean, maybe some days I want to roar and say, or a what? A witch? Yeah, right? I mean, sometimes butterfly or witch, I want to fly, right? Sometimes I want to roar. What can I learn by embodying those other creatures, those other characters? Costumes and masks can be a fun way to explore and to discover and perhaps unveil some of those parts of ourselves. It's a great way to begin to see the world anew, to see ourselves anew, to reveal ourselves more fully in the world. Halloween lets us practice this. It gives us permission. As Unitarian Universalists, we strive to live authentically. We strive to engage practices that can deepen our spiritual lives and create more peace and understanding. And I hope that we will each learn to experiment with masks and costumes as one way to help us do that, putting them on and taking them off. Both can help us learn more about who we are and how we are in the world. So what masks would you like to try on this year? What qualities and what truths would you like to embody? I leave you with this question for reflection this morning and in the coming days. Amen, and blessed be.
The Unitarian Church of Harrisburg is, as always, a freely gathered church of free people. The church is created, sustained, and supported by us. Each month, we share half of our Sunday plate with a local nonprofit organization. For the month of October, we share the plate with Gather the Spirit for Justice. JTSFJ is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that brings together Allison Hill residents, area organizations, businesses, and churches to address issues of social justice and economic equity. If you choose to contribute online, visit the uchbg.org homepage for options. Your financial support and commitment matter. Please consider giving what you are able.
We give and receive these gifts generously, gratefully. And just as we make our financial commitments, we also recommit to our covenant. But before we share in reading our covenant, we're going to hear from Chris Dutton. She has an important update for us.
Hi, everyone. Oh, dear. It's really fun to be with you here today. And speaking of masks, I hadn't thought of it this way before, but I am your board president. And in a way, that's a mask, right? Because I have to behave a certain way. And contrary to my, instincts. But one of those things is to tell you about important things and stand up in front of you here, which is not my favorite thing to do, and you all can relate to that, I'm sure. But some of you may have heard, some of you may not have heard yet, but the board is searching for a contract minister to start August 1st, 2024. I know it seems like a long time away, but it's really not. It's coming. Our current ministers won't be staying with us after that date. They'll be going back into retirement. That's where they came from when they so generously agreed to come to help us in September 2022 when we suddenly lost our minister. So the board has decided that it will seek to engage a contract minister in the same way we engaged Reverend Kathy and Reverend Sandra, with one big difference. We'll seek a minister who's willing to agree to a contract that includes an option to call. I'm not going to get into what all that means right now, but an option to call if, after a period of time, perhaps a year or two, we mutually decide to pursue UCH's process to call a minister, which is, by the way, is pretty simple in and of itself. This means we'll be letting potential applicants, ministerial applicants, know in advance that we want a permanent long-term relationship, but we want to try things out before we commit. Kevin refers to that as the dating process. Engaging in a full search process is intense. Many of you have participated in a full process. It's grueling and time-consuming for church members. In the past 8 years, 21 people of this congregation have devoted a significant part of their lives to the task, and it's devastating when it doesn't work out. So we just don't want to do it again. And I know from talking with you all the past couple years, you don't want to do it again either. And by the way, we're not alone. We're not alone among you congregations in our hesitancy to take on a traditional search for a called minister, even though we have had particularly difficult and traumatic experiences in trying to find a minister by using the full process. But we're not alone in being dissatisfied with the results. More times than we would like, a minister-congregation pairing just doesn't work out. So we'll do it a little differently. There is a defined, kind of toned-down process for this kind of search, and although it's the board that enters into the contract with the minister, and there is no congregational vote, we still want to get your thoughts and wishes. So at noon today, I think I'm correct that it's at noon, Kevin Geist, Karen Baker, and I, and Sharon Vaughn on Zoom will be here to get your ideas on what you'd like to see in a minister. And take a break then after the service. I'll come back here at noon. We'll have set up so that people on Zoom can participate as well. And thank you very much to all of you. Bye.
We're going to read our covenant together. But before we do, I want to invite those who are wearing masks or costumes who'd like to come up and join me while we read the covenant. Those who come on up front and join me, we're going to sing. We'll read the covenant, we'll sing, gathered here, and then we're going to recess together. So you can all come up if you want to, but whoever is really feeling inspired this morning, come on up and join me. All right, and join in our covenant. The words are up here for you. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
We have gathered here in the mystery, gathered here in peace and love. We have gathered here to help one another in the struggle and the power. May the Spirit draw near. May the Spirit of life come. Come to me. Come to us. Blessed be. Amen.
Amen.